This is it. I mean, we all go down that road, and it's, you know, you have to kind of let go of it once you start realizing you're gonna get spanked. Once you really start to learn the law and, you know, and learn the rules and how it works, you can really then start to empower yourself. And so that's the real empowerment of the people, using the law and taking back control. The courts are our courts. They're our courts that we created to protect our rights. And I think the more people do this, the more precedents we can set, the more case law we'll get, the more then they're like, okay, well, actually, now the people are actually taking real control of the country, which is, you know, it's our country, it's our land.
Hey there, fellow visionaries and freedom seekers. Patrick here with Sovereign Empowerment, and I am so glad you're here because we've got another good one for you today. If you've been following along with us, you've seen us talking a lot about the judicial system and how it seems like it's all stacked against us. And if you happen to be one of the many that have been duped into believing the Strawman theory alone will protect you from the courts and all legal actions imposed by the state, well, then you should go back and watch our mini-series, Strawman to Lawman, where Damien reveals the truth about that and what you really need to know. In this video, Damien is introducing a couple of guys, Ian and Steve, that are very familiar with the ways of the courts and share their experience-based knowledge with us. In fact, Ian will share his personal experience that was initiated by his arrest for simply swimming in the sea during the COVID lockdown. And no, it wasn't because he left his trousers on the beach. Follow along as Ian breaks down this criminal case blow by blow and shows you that by filing the right paperwork, understanding the importance of a solid plea, knowing how to set precedents and properly presenting evidence, to understanding the legal language, you'll be able to effectively engage with solicitors, command the respect from the judges, and take control of the court and the proceedings. After all, it is your legal system, not theirs. And here's the kicker. Ian isn't a barrister or even a university law student. He gained his knowledge through good old-fashioned research and a judiciary course from Dr. Frederick Graves. Ian learned how to stack the odds in his favor, positioning himself for a win, and wants you to know you can do the same. Now, before we get started, though, I'd like to just real quick express my gratitude to you for tuning in. Our mission here at Sovereign Empowerment is simple: to deliver high-quality content designed to equip you with the skills, knowledge, and confidence necessary to live a life of freedom and personal empowerment. It's our hope that you find value in every production we bring you. That being the case, please give us a thumbs up by clicking the like button. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. And by the way, we love comments, so keep them coming too. All right then, that said, I'm going to turn it over to the guys so you can dig into the rules of the game, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again, and make it a great day.
I'm just going to introduce Ian and Steve, who have been quietly, diligently applying their craft through the UK court system and proving that it does work. It isn't broken as long as you drill down on court procedure, as long as you study due process of law, and there are various tools to do this, and it's got nothing to do with the 25-year plus recycled, repackaged strawman hamster wheel that a lot of the UK seem to be on. In the States, they call it patriot mythology. And certainly the groups that myself, Ian and Steve frequent with our sort of patriot brothers out there who do seem to be streets ahead, certainly not streets ahead of Steve and Ian, but in numbers. They've got pretty much an army of litigants over there, whereas here, apart from you guys and a few others, very few and far between, which is why it's important to give you two guys a voice and actually show people, it can be done.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's not as hard as what people think. That's the truth of it. They're all stuck on this birth certificate that they seem to think is a contract, and it doesn't mean any of the elements of a contract in any way, shape, or form. But they have the idea that it makes you a slave. Not too sure a piece of paper makes you a slave. But, certainly doesn't make you a slave to anyone.
Well, the thing is, if it is a contract, which, you know, even if the straw man thing does exist and you are kind of floated as a commodity on the stock market and all the rest of it, if that is a contract, then it's literally the worst contract that's ever been written, because, you know, there has to be a meeting of the minds, there has to be an agreement, you know, so therefore straight away it's a fraud. You know, and like I was saying to you before, sorry, the dogs, I've got a 7-month-old puppy on the bed in the background, just seeing my lap. So yeah, he's just having a little growl, but yeah, so okay, yeah, so it's the worst contract that could ever been written, really, if you know, because it's complete fraud. Not only that, you have to basically, hey, you. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
So yeah, I mean, like I was saying to you before, off camera, it's like, I don't like being in victim consciousness. I don't like thinking, you know, there's nothing I can do about a certain situation, and this is the only way, and I've been owned since birth, and I'm a slave, and all the rest of it. For me, it's, you know, okay, I had to start learning this stuff by getting arrested, by being dragged into court for swimming in the sea during a lockdown, where I then had to defend myself, and I started using the, you know, some of the straw man stuff, and straight away I got railroaded. And the first time I was in court was, I listened back to the transcripts now and I kind of cringe, because I was saying some stuff and doing some stuff that I didn't really understand, and you know, it was very evident that I didn't understand it, and you know, I lost quite a in a bad way. But you know, I still stood up for myself, but it didn't get the outcome that I was desiring, and so then I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to relearn. I was sending off the notices, sending off the affidavits, all the rest of it, but it wasn't until I finally got the jurisdictionary course, and I was listening a lot to Alphonse and Dr. Graves and a few others, Steve Emerson, as we mentioned, and that's when I really started to think, okay, universe, I've been put in this situation for a reason. What are you trying to teach me? What do I need to learn? So I sacked my lawyer on the first day in court, which didn't go down too well either. Kind of threw me under the bus a little bit, but I put a common law document in without his knowledge, so I kind of threw him under the bus as well a little bit, so it was kind of tit for tat, but I'm a man of forgiveness, so I don't hold that against him. But I then went down, well, with Steve, went down the process of learning the rules of the game. Right? It's like playing chess, isn't it? Yeah, and you know, all games are played in courts. And it's, if you don't know the rules of the game, then you've got no chance of winning. So I had to go back, use the rules of the game, and start really using them. So I believe that, like you said before, the acts and statutes and legislation are kind of there to protect us, but they've been being used by people who are using them and been trained to use them, not for our benefit. They get paid, win or lose. So it doesn't make sense for them to kind of fight your corner. And not only that, if it's your situation, there's only you that's got first-hand knowledge, you know, of what actually happened, not putting it in the hand of somebody who wasn't there, didn't know what's gone on, and then being able to find the right legislation that you can file your evidence in with, the right acts that you can use to protect your rights, your human rights, your, you know, all that type of stuff, and use the rules of the court and use the precedents, the case law that cements in the court that, you know, the judge can't go against, you know. So basically, like Alphonse says and Dr. Graves, you give the judge a place to hang the hat. You can't really argue with it. And plus, I think they kind of respect you a bit more when you start to actually use the rules, and they're actually seeing how you're laying your case out, and they're just seeing how, like, where's he learning this from? How's he doing this? You know, maxims of law, using maxims, using, you know, their rules and things like that. So that's when we really started actually getting some headway. And
Is that so? You're structuring the paperwork that you're submitting to the court, because there's going to be a lot of people obviously out there sort of seeing this for the first time and having done all these other processes like UCC filings, firing off notices, changing their status, banging on about the birth certificate scam, what have you, and they'll have had their fingers burned. So,
yeah.
are you articulating that obviously everything you've stated there, getting it factually and structured into paper, and then filed into the court?
Yeah. So for me, I understand that you win your case really in your paperwork. What we had to do was then we had to go into filing the verified complaint. Obviously, we'd already done the pleadings. Then we do the verified complaint.
Well, with the pleadings, because again, I'm going to speak for the layman. What is a pleading?
Well, there's a few pleadings. It's about 4 of them, I think it is. So you got your complaint, your affirmative defences, you apply, and your answer. There's your 4. For your pleadings. For your case, your pleadings is one of the most essential parts of any case, along with evidence and objections. They're probably the main 3 that I can think of, really. That's the main important, along with discovery. But discovery is no good if your pleadings are shit, are they? To be honest. So your pleadings need to be bang on. And the rules of evidence is your best friend. It's also their best friend as well. But it's your best friend, what you can keep in and what you can keep out, especially what you can keep out of theirs. So there's a case that I was quite looking at we're doing at the minute, 177 cannabis plants and quite a few hundred grams of magic mushrooms, but he was self-medicating on cannabis and magic mushrooms. Now, in the statute, it's very specific in the Misuse of Drugs Act 76, and it's a misuse which is harmful or social issue, basically. There's nothing in that statute that says you're guilty of being self-medicating. So that's the argument that's going to get put forward anyway, regardless, and the fact that the government's going on its own weed. We can't, apparently.
But at the end of the day, you're not out abusing, say, a public space. You're not dealing. At the end of the day, it's personal. It's for self-use. So,
criminal has to be intent. There has to be intent in criminal matters. It's like the statutes. They're all codified by common law. People keep harping on by common law like there's a written set of laws by common law. That's not how it works. The statutes are codified by the common law, whether that's case law or the statutes in itself. Some of them are against us, obviously. I always look for laws that are old ones that predate World War One. That's where you know the difference with the acts from after World War One.
Yeah. And
you'll see the difference.
And not only that, like you said, with the whole Strawman stuff and the courts, I mean, only a living man or woman can write an affidavit.
You don't go in there going, I'm a living man.
You don't have to kind of go in and do that because you're going to get made to look like an absolute lunatic, maybe get a psych evaluation, and you're going to get looked at and they're just going to laugh at you, really.
My coat to you.
Yeah. So, but if you start following not their process, but our process, because like I said, it's my understanding that men died in countless wars throughout the ages so that we could have these rights and these laws that protect us. But we've kind of, it's our responsibility that we've not learned them, not been educated in law. We can educate ourselves in it and learn it ourselves just like anyone can. So therefore, we take back responsibility. We take back control of our courts, and if we start using the rules, we start filing the affidavits, we start filing the right documents. Therefore, only a living person can do that, and speak in a court. And I at no point, apart from the first time I was in court, I didn't go into the dock after that. I literally, stood representing myself as a lawyer. if you want to call it that. I was a pro se litigant, or whatever you want to label it as. But I stood there and represented myself. And when I finally kind of was going down that process, that's when the judge was like, okay, what would you like to be called today? The Isle of Man is a common law jurisdiction. Would you like to call Mr. Kirk, Ian? And I was like, Ian, please, Your Honour. And then it was like, okay, Ian. And then the prosecution's calling me Ian, the judge is calling me Ian. It was, I was sitting down rather than standing up and disrespecting the court and the rules. And that's when you started really actually gaining respect. And I was having respect for the court, because, like I said, people died so we could have these courts and that we could have our rights protected. So I wasn't going to go kind of against that. So yeah, and then obviously you file the right paperwork, and you play the game. You point out the burden of proof was on them, on my case, because they were the prosecution, and they had to prove that beyond reasonable doubt that I had committed any kind of offence. Not only that, obviously, I was then citing multiple laws. So I put my memorandum in, which detailed the details of the court. I tried to get my affidavits onto the court record multiple times, but was denied the right to, because it was a summary court. I wasn't in front of a jury. But then me and Steve, as we talked about the old laws, we found an act from 1736, the Criminal Law Act of 1736, which states in that document that we have a right to a trial by jury in all matters in a criminal case, and no criminal convictions can be brought against somebody unless an affidavit's first made.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so we found that and then tried to put that into the court with affidavits and 110 freedom of information requests stating that the virus hasn't been isolated and purified, along with the Lancet document.
And this was with the where they tried to do you for simply exercising your right to enjoy the natural swim in the sea during COVID restrictions.
Yeah,
sorry,
because the suicide rate. So I help people with cold water therapy and breathing techniques. I won't mention the technique that I use and then I teach. But I use that to help myself physically and mentally. And I was on the beach, and before I knew it, 20 odd people turned up. I didn't invite them down; they just came because suicide rates on our island were up 400%, and no one was talking about it, and it doesn't get reported. So there was no way I could help anyone, but people knew where I was because I was putting on social media where I was. No, I don't get sick anymore from the natural diet that I've been on for the last 9 years, and using breath work and cold exposure. I no longer get sick. I tried to catch COVID, can't catch it. I was even trying to catch the flu before COVID even exists. So it wasn't something that was just new to me. So for me, it was when they arrested me for swimming in the sea, I then obviously had to. That's when my journey into the law really began, and I had to adapt fast each time I failed. I had to realize what was happening, but I knew that the truth was on my side. I had officers that had kind of, in my opinion at the minute, because I can't fully say, but fabricated evidence, in my opinion, lied in the statements, unlawfully arrested me without any reason for me committing any kind of crime. There was no victim in the issue. No one had been harmed, no one had been injured, no one had got sick. It was just like, yeah. And it was very clear that I was singled out, according to the Constabulary Code of Ethics as well, which we went through, and some of the officers reading out in court. So I went through, I'll tell you a bit of the basics. I went through a whole year-long battle with them. Evidence was left out of the criminal evidence file until I was meant to be on trial in August. So I got arrested in March, went to a few pre-trial reviews, was scheduled to have a trial in August. The trial got vacated on 2 days' notice and adjourned, which they then had us back into court for another pre-trial in October, when I then asked for the evidence of a warning that allegedly got given out the day before I got arrested, which I know didn't happen, and there should have been no notebook entry of it. But after finally using the rules of the court, I asked the judge, I need to see this piece of evidence. And she asked, have you still not received that? She ordered the prosecution to provide me with that evidence, which should have been in the evidence file at the very beginning, but wasn't, because I don't think it existed. And then in the 3 weeks later, at the end of the October, we finally got this notebook entry of this alleged warning that shouldn't have been there. The notebook entry, we believe, was fabricated during that time, because otherwise why wasn't it in the evidence file? Not only that, I nearly went to trial in August without that piece of information, which was vital to my case. So that's a right to a fair trial that was nearly violated. And then I give them the date then that the trial would then take place in August, nearly a year later, or over a year later, on the 28th of March. And then we set out the case, and we filed 9 motions to dismiss. We also asked for a direction notice, so we went into the law and asked for, under the law that I was charged under, 33B. It basically says that events and gatherings are allowed. You got to go.
I'll try to get to you soon, Damien. I need to get back home.
Oh, Steve, nice to meet you, sir. And speak soon.
Yeah. Again soon. See you soon.
Right. Speak soon. Thank you.
So the evidence didn't turn up. We filed 9 motions to dismiss, and
they've tried to do you under section 33B.
So yeah, it was the coronavirus legislation, 33B.
They like that number, don't they?
They do like that number. This is what so in some of the video footages, my van has got 33 on it as on the number plate, and my friend's in front of me, whose car was in front of me at the time, hers was 333. So I've seen the signs. I've looked a lot into numerology, and my life path number is a number 9. So 3 times 3 is 9, and so on. So I was seeing multiple signs from the universe. But yeah, we filed 9 motions to dismiss on grounds like perverting the course of justice, withholding evidence, right to a fair trial, breach of human rights. I was arrested freezing cold, soaking wet. I was clearly singled out because I was the only one arrested for participating in a gathering. Well, why wasn't everybody else arrested? Then I was asking for it said under the law that I was charged under that events and gatherings were allowed unless there's been a direction notice issued by the council of ministers saying otherwise. So I asked for this direction notice in May. Now this is in now February 2022, almost a year later, and I still haven't got this direction notice. So in the end of the process, I was doing my discovery tools. I was sending discovery requests for production, discovery requests for admissions, saying, right, you've said this, X, 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 and X, and I need you to produce X, 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 and X. And the prosecution was refusing to answer my document. So in the end, I had to send a motion to compel to the judge in the court to compel the prosecution to get him to court to answer my document, which is what the judge in the end kindly did, because now I'm using the rules. They first of all said, oh, he was unavailable, he's in the higher court, he can't come on that day. This is on the Friday. Then on the Monday, I get a message saying, right, he'll be in court on Wednesday. All right, perfect. And I was literally away in the UK doing an event in the UK, came back on the Tuesday night, was back in court on the Wednesday. This is a week before the trial. And then I finally asked for the direction notice. Now, when I asked for the direction notice, the prosecution turned around and said, oh, I'm unaware of any direction notice. And then the judge, so then the judge, well, I need to see this law that I'm being charged under. So then the judge turned around and said, well, you should be aware of it. He's asked you for it. So he was like, oh, I had a little bit of back and forth. And the next thing, he pulls out the direction notice that he had with him all along. This direction notice. So it was like, has he just pulled that out of his hat? Has he got a printer under his desk? Where's he pulled this direction notice from? So he hands over the direction notice. I didn't, while I was in court, I was like, thank you, I'll read that once I get home. And then when I read through it, the direction notice came into place 2 minutes past midnight on the day before I got arrested, which was when I was allegedly given a warning. which never happened. I was told the legislation by the police officer or the regulations, and in that direction notice it says that I could have, for the purposes of support, I could have basically shared a car with someone, taken them down to the beach with me, both gone into the sea together, as long as we were in our family bubble, whatever they wanted to call it, and that basically adhered to social distancing. Now, at no point did I go near anyone. At no point did I have a conversation with anyone. At no point did I broken any of those laws, and I didn't even bring somebody down to the beach with me, but I could have actually gone in a car share with somebody down to the beach and still not have broken the law, yet I was arrested for it. So it's like, it didn't make sense. In my opinion, I hadn't even broken the law, which you kept from me for over a year, which I had to issue a motion to compel to get you to answer my document 5 days before I was going on to trial. So it was like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, it was, so when I finally got that, that's when we went to trial. I got to cross-examine the two police officers on the stand who arrested me. Got them admitting to all kinds of stuff.
Can I hold you there, because
yeah,
this is really important, Ian, for viewers here, that the fact that you're not a lawyer, you're not a prosecutor, but you have gained the knowledge of law. You have studied diligently. You've done the jurisdictionary course, which a 36-year attorney, Dr. Frederick Graves, wonderful man, wonderful spiritual man, has put out there for us as laymen to become pro se litigants in person, to have the knowledge to do what Ian has done and what he is doing. So you've gone there, and now you are confidently in court cross-examining two police officers.
Yeah, correct.
Now, that is amazing.
Yeah, and so that was on the first day, and then somebody who was in the court there was maxims of law, which one like sentences that can't be argued, that stand the test of time. And one of the maxims that I used in mine was, unjust is state power where the law is uncertain or unknown. Meaning, if the law is constantly changing, then and people in the court. So, for example, in my case, when I had one of the officers on the stand, somebody in the court who really should have known the law and the legislation had the wrong legislation in front of them. So I'm citing the law, and they're like, "Oh, well, is this such and such?" I said, "No." And I knew there was 2 lots of coronavirus legislation. Now, this person in the court didn't have the right legislation. You should have done. So when I've used that maxim of unjust is state power where the law is uncertain and unknown, and this person who's the main person in the court who should know what the law is and the right legislation, even they said it was confusing. Now, this maxim was put in place, for like things like what happened with the Nazis and with Hitler, where the law was changing that much that they could just arrest anyone for anything because no one knew what the law was. You can't have that. That's not democratic. It's not justice in any way, state or form. And the coronavirus legislation was being amended so much. Now, this officer turned around and said that he informed me the regulations instead of giving me a warning like he claimed in his statements. So he's lied in his statement. He informed me the regulation, but when I passed him the direction notice, he'd never seen it before in his life. So how can you inform me of a regulation you knew nothing about? So, and not only that, so that was on the first day, and then on the second day, it was a 3-day trial. I then had 14 witnesses that I had to cross-examine myself, as well as the prosecution. So we had 14 witnesses to cross-examine, and the witnesses were unbelievable. Like, some of their stories were harrowing. The reasons why they were down on the beach, one girl had lost her brother in a drowning incident in Thailand, and it was his anniversary on that day when she was going to the sea, crying her eyes out on that day. There was another girl, a lovely lady who was working on the COVID ward, who'd come down there and was trying to de-stress and stuff like that. So he was an actual nurse. There was other people who'd lost relatives and things like that. There was 2 young kids who came down with a mum because they were feeling really bad, and their mental health was really not good at the time. So there was a lot of harrowing stories. There was another guy there who, some of them were friends, and it's the Isle of Man, everyone knows everyone, but some people were friends of mine. And one guy had been stabbed in Thailand, and he was dealing with the demons of that. And he said that he was self-employed, had no work, had no income, was in a really bad way, and he said the cold water had really, really helped him, which it did. And so much so that after like the first day, was it the second day? It might have been the second day. So the second day we had the half of the witnesses in, and it was, you know, it was amazing. Like, in my opinion, we really destroyed them. In my opinion, I don't want to sound too overconfident, but you know, just hearing some of the stories to the point where, like, so one of the people working in the court, when they left, because I ended up coming quite friendly with them all, just trying to be myself. And they turned around and they were like, you know, shouldn't be saying this to you, but have you ever thought about doing law? And this is when everyone else is out the court. And I said, oh, well, I'm doing a paralegal course at the minute. She's like, I'm not just trying to say this, but I'll blow smoke up your ass, but you did really well today. She said, and she said, in fact, normally it's all over the place, but you were really, really brilliant. You were on it. And she said, I'm actually considering doing cold water swimming after this because of all the stories of how much it had helped people. So I turned a really negative situation into a really positive. And we went around the next day. We had the rest of the witnesses in, and then the judge was like, listen, you know, all we had to do a summary then at the end. And it was the only time I really got angry to a degree in court, because the prosecution came out. He was allowed to say his summary first, straight after dinner, and he just said a load of nonsense, load of lies, and just he was actually the friend of the Attorney General. He was kind of put on the case, and the Attorney General actually passed away during the process, so it was one of the last cases that he'd put him on. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that I think he was adamant that he wanted to get me to be guilty of this, because it was kind of, he had that on his mind. So he said a load of stuff that wasn't nice, and then the judge kind of seen it, and she was like, Ian, would you like to go for a quick recess or a toilet break? And I said, yeah, Your Honor, I need the toilet. And I went out, and there was steam coming out my ears. So I was like, I'm quite good at controlling my emotions. And after 10 minutes, I went back in, and I had some notes that Steve had written down for me. And you know, when your mind's just blank, I just couldn't even focus on reading it. I said, Your Honor, I said, I've got some notes here. I said, but I can't read them. I said, I'm just going to say this straight from the heart. And she's like, oh, you do know you have to cite the law and the legislation and the, you know, the precedents and everything else. I said, I've lived this case for a year, sleepless nights, the whole lot of it. And I said, you know, and then I just reeled it off straight from the heart, exactly what, you know, you know, every bit of it, the case laws, the precedents, the criminal law, amongst criminal law procedure, certain pages, and what case are versus such and such. And yeah, I just nailed it. And everyone in the gallery was like, that was clear. Like darkness versus light. It was just like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've clearly been on a spiritual journey as well as this law journey, which is, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, many years ago, I kind of woke up to the whole system and everything else, and I went on more of a health journey. I went to study health and natural healing and things like that, and that's what led me kind of down this path. I knew everything wasn't right, and I knew that people around me were getting sick, and I wanted to prove there was a natural way of healing people. And that kind of led me down that path. And I traveled around the world. I've climbed mountains in minus 20, 30 in my undies. In Polish winters, I've been to healing villages in Honduras created by a guy called Dr. Sabi, who claimed he cured all disease. I've done a lot of stuff on that level, and I came back from that traveling journey to kind of build my own wellness company to help people stay healthy using natural means. So when this whole thing happened, I knew things didn't sit right, and I was just trying to do my best to help people. And then obviously I didn't expect I knew about the Strawman stuff, I knew about the common law stuff many years ago. I even wrote songs on it. And I actually wrote a song about, walking on the beach for the sunrise. And I am the living man, I was born free. Your rules and your laws, they won't control me. I'll walk on the water, I'll fly through the sky. Walking on the water, maritime law. I'll fly through the sky, I'll sit in the ice, and I'll light up that fire. And that's one of my little lyrics in it. And so yeah, I kind of knew about that stuff anyway. I didn't ever think that I'd have to use it or go down that road. And I believe everything happens for a reason. And now I feel like I've empowered myself. because now I know the law and I know the rules, and I still respect. There's a lot of good police officers on the island. There's a lot of good people in our judicial system. A lot of them were really friendly, really lovely to me, and I can only thank them enough. And yeah, I just believed in the process, and I believed I was right, and I believed in justice, real justice, and luckily I got it.
Can I say then that what I clearly believe, and what I believe you're saying is that the judicial system isn't broken. It's just we, the people, have not learned how to access it properly. I mean, obviously you have, Steve has, you've proved that, and you've proven success. But the people have been following a lot of other processes that has taken us far, far away from what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And that the system isn't broken. It's just been our inability to access it correctly. Is that the case?
I believe so. I believe now the whole strawman stuff might be kind of a diversion in the wrong direction. Yes, like I said, possibly is it true? Are you being floated on, by a corporation and the Dun and Bradstreet and the contract law stuff and all that? Yeah, probably. But how are you going to prove that in a court? No one's ever going to come into court and say, right, Mr. Kirk, we own you by your birth certificate, and you're trapped now, and you're under our control, and with the trust law stuff and all that. It's like, it's a massive web of deceit and everything else. And no one's ever going to admit to it. So, and you're going to make people very crazy in that world. And if you can't learn how to use the rules to protect yourself, then they're just going to be able to do whatever they want with you. And that's been proven many a times over. And so,
well, you've hit the nail on the head, because the conversation you and I had on the phone previously, if that was such a thing with, and then look, there may be a shred of truth in the strawman thing, but exactly as you've said, it isn't going to win you a case in court, and there's no way that we can prove it in court. And at the end of the day, the Modern Slavery Act 2015, if they held up your birth certificate and said, you are a slave, then you could immediately counter that, could you not, with that act?
Correct. And not only that, you've got other legislation that you can use to counteract a lot of stuff. Counteract it, if you do the work, the research, and look it up, and then find the precedents. Or, like I was saying to you before, you can set a precedent if people know how to use this stuff and go into court. I mean, in a real court of law where you have a jury, who is it that decides the law? You've got the judge, you've got the jury, and who is it that finds you guilty or not guilty? Now, it's my understanding that the judge is just merely just the referee to make sure everything runs smoothly and everyone uses the rules correctly and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's the actual jury that decides if you're guilty or not guilty. So who is it? Who's the jury made up of? The common man, the people. So who is it that decides the law? It's the people that decide the law. Yeah. So this is where our power comes from. Because if a jury gets in front of a jury, and you're able to plead your case and let the jury know, like, this is how it's worked. Here's the laws. Here's the reason I was doing what I was doing. There's no victim in this case. I've not, done any, committed any crime really. And this is how everything's working. And the jury then decide with you. Then you set a precedent. Then you set case law that now anybody else around the world can use and say, well, this case, such and such, Kirk versus R versus Kirk, such and such. And they can use that then. So that's the real empowerment of the people using the law and taking back control. That the courts are our courts. They're our courts that were created to protect our rights. And we've put them in the hands of bar members and lawyers and advocates and judges who get paid win or lose. Who weren't there and got no first-hand knowledge of anything, and are probably working on 20 other different cases at one go, trying to take on your case and trying to do the work on it that should be done, and haven't got the time to even invest into it, even though you're paying them a massive amount of money. Well, they've got all these other cases going on and all these other court cases, and it's like, it's not, it's not settled for you. It's not settled for you winning. It's not settled for you, again. Yeah, some people do, don't get me wrong, but you're never going to get a lawyer going against another lawyer and putting claims in against a lawyer if he's done something wrong, because they're all peeing in the same pot. You're never going to get a lawyer going after a judge, but whereas men and women, we can do that, and we have that power to do that if we learn the process, you know. And
that's really important. People don't realise that we do have that power to not only hold the judge to the rules, but to actually, you know, file claims, civil or criminal complaints against them if they're not doing what they should be doing. And that's really relevant for people to know that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things, I'll tell you a funny story that, so when I went into court in the October, when I was asking for the notebook entry, I basically I was questioning the whole you know, the coronavirus legislation and everything else, and the judge kind of said it supersedes the Criminal Law Act of 1736, which has stood the test.
Really?
Which I knew was wrong, but you know, I kind of let that one go, but it was on the court record, so it was like, okay. But one of the things I said in my defense was, you know, just out of interest, Your Honor, I said, what's the official distance that a man or woman needs to be in the vicinity of another man or woman for it to be considered as a gathering? And she was like, oh, I think it was the 2 meter social distancing guideline. It should be in the statute of the legislation. And the prosecution then pipes up and he's like, oh, there is no official distance in the statute of legislation. And I was like, oh, well, that's great then, because, you know, I said, well, that means anyone could be guilty of gathering if there's no official distance in the statute of legislation. So she turns around, the judge, and she's like, well, there must be evidence of Ian in this gathering being, you know, participating and whatnot. And the prosecution went, yeah, there is, but it's clear that he's on the video footage, he's more than 2 meters away from anyone at all times. I went, right, perfect then. You know, and then the prosecution jumps up, he's like, well, distance is irrelevant when it comes to gathering. Distance is irrelevant. I said, well, if distance is irrelevant when it comes to gathering, then I'm having a gathering right now then with someone in Brazil. And they were like, ugh. So I was like, if distance is irrelevant when it comes to gathering, then, you know, you might as well lock everybody up, you know. And not only that, at one point, I think I said, you know, when he said about it not being the statute of legislation, I said, well, if that's the case, then of course I'm guilty of gathering, because I had a gathering every single night then with my next door neighbour. If that's the case. So, you know, you can lock everybody up. It was just
brilliant.
It was ridiculous. Well, but yeah, once you really start to learn the law and, you know, learn the rules and how it works, you can really then start to empower yourself. And luckily for me, I was, at the time, I didn't see it as a blessing, but I got to be in court 9 times over that 1 year, and I got to get familiar with the environment, because one of the things with the court is it's quite a stressful, scary environment if you kind of don't know what you're doing. And I'm very good at controlling my breathing now, my emotional state. So I'm all about getting out your comfort zone and making the uncomfortable comfortable. So that's kind of what I did over the year that I was back and forth in the court, and I actually then became comfortable in that world where I could then litigate my own case and speak for myself. So,
but then you've grown into standing in your own power,
yeah,
and being your own authority. And I've been at pains to, you know, I'll put a political spin on this with people giving away their power of representation. I mean, you've explained very well the fact that the solicitors don't always have your best intentions at heart, you know, because they can't go after the judge the way that you can. They can't claim against the other lawyers. You know, it's a bit of a almost a golf club sort of alliance, you know, behind the scenes. They all know one another. They you know, I can't speak for the several oaths and the fact that you might be third in the pecking order, but I think it comes down to this. It's people not standing in their power and giving away their power of representation. So they've basically signed away their rights to the lawyer. Now, we do this the same with the political classes. People moan about politicians fucking them over, right? You'll have to excuse my language, but that's a case in point. Now, what we've done with politicians, we've given them our power of representation without setting limits, liability, or recourse. And we wonder why they fuck us.
What does that mean?
It's like giving a crackhead your credit card.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, it's like the way I see it now, they're all public servants, and every single one of them need public liability insurance. Otherwise, they can't operate. So before, if you start filing complaints and suing them and flagging up their insurance, how long do you think it's going to be before they don't get public liability insurance? Because, at the end of the day, no insurance company is going to keep insuring a public servant who keeps getting sued for multiple hundreds of thousands or millions or all the rest of it. So this is where then the people can take the power back, because you win a case against one of these people who have just kind of got that used to doing the wrong thing, that it becomes the normal thing, and they believe it's the right thing, and they're actually operating criminally. And you can flag it up and you can point it out and you can prove it on a record in a court of law. They're not going to get public liability insurance. Then it's their job, their livelihood, their career on the whole line, their mortgage that they can't pay, their wife that might be leaving them because they've got no money anymore. All that type of stuff, that's then got to come into play in their mind. Whereas that's kind of what they've been doing to us. Especially with like your doctors, your nurses, your lawyers. The lawyers can lose the bar license and get struck off if they speak out. Politician can be removed from parliament or be called anti-Semitic for trying to expose some kind of stuff, like someone recently. Doctors and nurses can be struck off and have their medical licenses revoked and taken off them. Now they lose their careers if they speak out. So it's like this whole system, but it's all based on the insurance. If we can flag up the insurance, we can take back control in our own power and our own education within ourselves. I was going to say sovereignty, but with who we are, and really take that power and use it for what it was meant for the greater good, and for these public servants should be doing what we're asking them to do. They can't just be in power and just keep getting away with all these crimes and just think it's okay, and that us as their employer is not gonna, we don't have the right to sack them or remove them or say, right, well, you're not doing what we've asked you to do. You need to move over. We don't care about your lobbying money and everything else, because it's not coming down, trickle down to us, is it? It's so yeah, I think that's where it's at. And I think the more people do this, the more precedents we can set, the more case law we'll get, the more then they're like, okay, well, actually, now the people are actually taking real control of the country, which is, it's our country, it's our land. Like Alphonse has been a real great voice of reason in the background of help, even though I've only spoke to him a few times. But I mean, he says there's a hierarchy. When you go into court, you swear on a Bible, do you not? Okay. God created man created governments created corporations created judges, advocates, lawyers, We're up here, right? We believe we're down here underneath them. This is why you need an advocate to speak for you in court, because you're either as a delinquent, you're missing dead, lost at sea, like the Strawman stuff. If you don't know how to operate in that world, you need someone else to advocate for you. Whereas if you're up here and you take back your right under God, I'm not a very religious man, but I do believe that there is a creator, and we were given this process for a reason. And if we can just know where we're at, we cannot be beneath something that we created. Man can never be below something that he created. So we need to understand that, and we need to understand that that power that resides within us, within all of us. And if it just, you can make so much, you can do so much yourself, but power in numbers, and with more people understanding this and understanding how they can take back that power, then that is, imagine a group of generation of children that are getting taught in school about the laws, the legal process, because these kids are very bright, but instead, what are we teaching them? That there's 100 different genders and there's all this other nonsense. And why don't we teach them about life skills and meditation and resilience, and they need the maths, the science, and the English and everything else, but why aren't we also teaching them about survival skills, and how to cook, how to quantum physics, numerology, how to grow food, how to be creative, how to be an entrepreneur, how to fill, your financial IQ and to fill in taxes and tax form, and how the system works and everything else. And, why aren't we teaching them about that? Because then people would wake up and people would understand the right, and that generation of children that would know the laws, know the rights, know that what's going on is not right, and actually believe in the body that they were being born into, rather than this other nonsense that's going on at the minute, and actually empower themselves and love themselves, and and that's where you're really going to get a real internal revolution, in my opinion.
It's coming, definitely. I believe that this realm is being bombarded with high frequency energy. It's waking a lot of people up, and there's a lot of high vibrational children coming through at this time. Very awake, very astute, very intuitive. I've got an 8-year-old who fits in that category. He's not a good fit for school. He wants me reading the law books, law express books, the law student books. He's really interested in his rights.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's empowering. But talking about the school system is a case in point. You and I discussed off air, and it seems what my sort of study of the situation with school, certainly my 8-year-old son's school, you've got good folk at that school who have never been out of the education system. So you've got these teachers who are completely indoctrinated, brainwashed. They're repeaters, and they've gone in and they're just regurgitating the system and churning out fearful, compliant kids. But now we've got this
obedience.
Yes, but now something worse, this satanic sinister sort of agenda with this binary, this transgender. I mean, that can be destroyed immediately with a common sense. Does everybody agree we're mammals? And this is what I say to these people. Yeah, we're mammals. Okay, right. Well, let's go to the point of truth. The foundation of truth is nature. Right. Okay, let's look at all the other mammals in nature. How many genders do they have? 2. Okay, well, that's it. There's your fact. There's your substantive facts, your evidence.
Biological fact, you can't disagree. When you're trying to go to the very basis of biology, that man is a man and woman is a woman, and we have, our own different, beautiful differences. It's like, we should be embracing that, not teaching children that they can chemically and medically castrate themselves at an early age. And it is a satanic agenda. We are God's creation, and he wants to, by free will, get God's creation to destroy himself and not even know what body he was born into, and to teach this. It's like a Jesuit priest said, show me the child between the ages of 1 and 7 and I'll show you the man, because they know that we get a fundamental programming between those ages. And that, by teaching these kids at an early age and confusing them, they're not going to know what's going on. And those are the kids who are really going to be able to go into the law and into everything else and look into it and actually stand up and make a change when they're that mentally ill, because they've been so confused at such an early age. It's ridiculous. And I fully stand behind anyone wanting to be whatever they want to be, in life. But to try and push that on children, and I think everybody who understands what's going on knows that's not right. And these teachers, they have a duty now to stand up and say, you know what, we're not teaching this, because at the end of the day, guess whose head it's going to be on the chopping block? It ain't going to be those at the top writing the curriculums and everything else. It's going to be the man or woman who's first in point of contact. It's going to be the teachers. They're the ones going to be getting thrown under the bus. They're the ones whose head's going to be on the chopping block. And, a bit like, the higher ups in the government, in the police force, for example, the order might come from higher up, but it's the one who's actually making the arrest and the one who's actually following the order that they have a right and a duty to. If it's unlawful to not follow according to the code of ethics, then they're the ones who are going to be, thrown under the bus as well. So these people need to understand that they're part of us. They're part of, our lower level family, if you want to talk about it in that kind of sense, that you have a right to stand up. And if you do whistle blow and you do want to come out and say, no, we're not doing this and this isn't right, then the people will stand behind you, and we can do so lawfully and teach people how to empower themselves. And
it's first of all, I mean, most people, the conversations I've can't help myself, with waking people up and actually showing them they have rights. Most people, A, don't realise they've got rights, and B, if they understand they've got rights, they have no idea how to enforce them. And what better way to get a level of privacy to be left the fuck alone, from parasitical entities, corporations, or wayward public servants that would cause you harm, injury, or loss, than slapping a lawsuit on their desk. That's what they're frightened of. They're not frightened of notices. I've seen so many different processes by well-meaning, well-intentioned people that, saw one recently where over 90 days you do 7 notices, but and it's all very well. And again, it's not anything disparaging towards any of these groups, because they're all decent, brave, well-intentioned people that are waking people up and trying to show people they have rights. But the thing I can't get past, and this is why it's so important to do what we're doing, is showing that people, there is a way, what gets results. It's a lawsuit. Bang, there you go. Now they haven't got a legal obligation to answer or reply to these notices that are being sent out.
No weight behind it. There's no weight behind it. You mean well, you're doing all that hard work, you're doing all that research, but without actually filing the lawsuit, without actually getting them, whoever you're trying to go after, summons them to court, then where's the weight behind it? Who are they going to respect more? The person who's going to file a lawsuit and say, right, well, you're now going to lose your job, or this, that, and the other, and here's the evidence, here's the laws, here's the rules, here's the facts, bang, here's the lawsuit. Shit. Now we need to answer this. He's just set up a procedure where we have to follow it. Instead of notices and affidavits that are unrebutted standards, truth and law. Well, an affidavit's an out of court statement so it's worthless unless you get it onto a court of record. If you're not willing to go into that court of record and go into know how to use the rules and go into the court and get it onto the court record, then it's worthless. So you want justice, but you're not willing to use your system or our system for that justice, and because you see it as, oh yeah, they don't apply to me in these courts and everything else. Well, it doesn't make sense.
And you're right, it is our system, and we've forgotten that, haven't we? It's very easy to think that it's the legal society system. No, it isn't. It's our system, and it was created for us. And I think Steve Emerson said, this is, I'll say for our audience, obviously you know the man. Steve Emerson is a guy that's got over $40 million in lawsuits. He's got 40 properties off many counties and state in the United States, off their version of the council tax roll, which is municipal property tax, and he's had the meters taken off. Now, I'm just going to use this as a segue into another thing. There's a massive thing in the UK. There's this massive public-private thing, with these people trying to, so I'm in the private, and I think, well, but you're not. At the end of the day, the only thing that's private is if 2 living parties form a contract. You have a private contract. The concept of privacy. So you can't just declare that you're private. You and I, as 2 living parties, can have a private contract. The government and any creature of the state cannot touch that or invade the privacy of that contract. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that's more Steve's thing. He's more, we can look at certain different bits.
But the concept, so you can't declare yourself as private and then, the public can't. But you can have private property. It's more a case, the true concept of privacy, I believe, is when you have your property off the VOA listing, off as a taxable entity, off the council tax roll, and it's unmetered. And you've made these organisations do it because you've either sued them or you've slapped a lawsuit and you've come to a private agreement with them.
Or you showed them the law. You showed them the law that protects your rights, and then showed how they're operating is actually fraudulently, and then they're not going to want to get you into a court. they're not going to want to, you know, get that on a court record, because then that sets the precedent for everybody else.
Yes.
You know, so this is so it's amazing stuff when you start looking into it. And I've not really looked and delved into the tax stuff and the property stuff too much, because I've kind of been focusing on other stuff. It's you know, the whole law thing is a massive encyclopedia of a lot of stuff. But I've been listening to a few people recently who've been kind of going down that road and learning that stuff, and it's very interesting. There is some, like you said, the Modern Slavery Act, and there's the Bill of Rights, and there's a few other Misrepresentation Act or something like that. There's a few other acts and statutes as well that I've now become aware of that can actually protect your rights in certain ways and certain things. So, you know, it's just all about learning. And the more heads we have, the more people can be looking at different avenues and different things and different problems that we're going into, and then that can be shared, and that, you know, people can then use it, you know, and it helps. It benefits everyone, you know. So
I'll put a nugget out there, because I've read the Local Government Finance Act 1992. I've probably read it 100+ times.
You have to know it. You have to know it.
And I'm going to put a nugget out there, because as you and I spoke off air, you know, I during the COVIDius minimus times, you know, with all the unlawful restrictions, should I say, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
But you know, something that mirrored tyranny, perhaps. But yeah, I shan't go too much into that. But yeah, I happened upon a lawyer who was a foremost human rights lawyer, you know, a real freedom fighter. And she was explaining to me about, obviously, with legislation, just read and read and read, and you will always find the loopholes. And I will put this nugget out, that if anybody has a problem with council tax, as they should, because it's unlawful and illegitimate, it does contravene your constitutional rights. Private property can't be taxed. And the fact that you're not engaged in any, you know, business from your property, it's not a business premises. The fact that you're not actually a resident, you need to look into what that is.
Word magic.
But in that particular act, and this is a real gem, it says, because I did a freedom of information request asking, you know, where actually the local government derive their authority to tax your property, and they said, "Oh, this section of the, you know, the LG, the Local Government Finance Act." And basically, when you drill down on the act, it says that the authority that they have is by long use and enjoyment of a right or a title. This is the piece to resistance, by presumption and assumption. So, okay, so in a court of law, I've got legal title. I've got evidence of that from the land registry. I've also got equitable title. That goes without saying. I live in the property. I've made the payment. I bought the property, so I have the receipt. So I have legal title, equitable title, yeah? What title have they got? None. So what right do they have? Well, my rights to own property are protected in the constitutional statute, primary legislation. So, and their authority comes from presumption and assumption.
Correct. And only facts and law, only facts in the court, only facts and law. And not only that, you are protected, I think, under the Human Rights Act of private right to a family life and private property. Are you not? I think. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. So that also adds in. So yeah, you've got, when you start to look at it,
you've so two. Look, we've just put massive nuggets there for people to go and look at that, and also look at your tax laws here. You know, there can only be 3 types of taxes, which are duty, impost, and excise. Now, if you're not importing and exporting from your property, and if you're not exercising a business privilege from your property, and you're not registered or licensed with the local council, therefore there's no business sitter set up with them, then what the hell are they doing?
Yeah. but this is it. And then when you can point that out and ask the relevant questions and cite the relevant laws, this is where you then empower yourself and take those rights back. So it's a lot of interesting stuff when you start getting your head into it, and it actually starts, like Alphonse said, it starts to become fun. You
Yes.
start to look at it and go, oh, okay, you start seeing certain things, and yeah, it's brilliant.
So, Ian, I shan't take up any more of your time, but would you be willing to come on again so we could cover some more things?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'd love to. Obviously, we'll speak to Steve as well and see when he's got a bit more time. And yeah,
excellent. I'd like to get you guys back on, and obviously, we can start talking. Really sort of drill down on how people go through the court process. So if we do sort of jurisdiction, and explain to people in rem and in personam and what have you, and causes of action, elements, and so on and so forth. You guys would be wonderful to explain that, and hopefully just this first video alone is getting people in the right direction. At the end of the day, look, I bought into this Strawman thing in the very beginning. I got my arse spanked over a speeding fine, sort of trying all that nonsense. And it backfired and cost me 800 quid.
Yeah, well, this is it. You mean we all go down that road, and it's you have to kind of let go of it once you start realizing you're gonna get spanked.
It doesn't work.
You're gonna get railroaded, and it's there's another way. But some people are really tied up in that. They've I know people who've lost their houses, and they're still adamant that this, that, and the other, they're on the run, and all the rest of it. And it's like, you're not going to get justice that way. If you just learn the other process and let go. Once you've failed, you should learn and adapt quickly and say, okay, well, maybe there's another way, and there's other ways around it, rather than just staying with this dogma that, oh yeah, this is the way it is and that's it. And if I put my thumbprint on this and sign it in a 45-degree angle and put a post-it note or stamp on the back of this letter and do all this then authorizes this, that, and the other, it's like, doesn't mean anything. It's just
no magic pens and Postmaster General.
Yeah, exactly. And this color and that color, and I write it in blood ink or blue pen and this pen and that and this stamp and that color. It's just like,
Ian, the problem is people invest a lot of time and energy into that. They perfect these spurious processes, and it's very hard. They've got to let go of the ego.
Yeah,
and just say, look, and this is why I'm at pains to say, look, I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. Fortunately, intuitively, I got away from it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I realised.
Your ass kicked. Yeah,
You're
like, oh, I've been learning kickboxing, but I'm in a jiu-jitsu fight.
Yeah, I thought,
like,
right.
Yeah,
now I'm actually going to learn the law now.
Yeah. Now instead of learning kickboxing, I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu because that's the fight that we're in. Or instead of playing checkers, I'm playing chess.
Yes, yeah.
Still a different game. It's like, okay, right, it's and you're not the one who decides that. It's their. I won't say theirs. It's our course. It's our game, really. It's their game, but we need to learn how to play it and know the rules. And if we do that, we will empower ourselves, we will get justice, and therefore we can set the precedent, and then we can, help everybody else who's doing this type of stuff as well. And, and don't hold anything against anyone who's doing the whole strawman stuff. It's just like, I feel sorry for anyone who's lost the house, who's gone down that road, who's still adamant that they have to file all these notices, paid money to people that, really don't have their best interest at heart and are just, making money out of them. So when people are ready to decide to kind of look at a different way, I'm very much willing to advise and help in any way I can. I'm sure you are, and do our best. A bit like Alphonse and Steve Emerson and Robert Fox and Dr. Graves and all the rest of them, because they seem they're getting results. The proof is in the results, and they're honest people, and they don't back down. They know what's right, and they don't quit, and they carry on. So
and they know the rules, and the rules protect them. You know, it's these guys are American and Canadian. I mean, Amanda Riding out in Canada, some huge success.
Patrick King, you know, he did a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's doing the jurisdictionary course, but I got some great information from him when he found out, you know, then he got on a court of record that, you know, the virus hasn't been isolated and purified, and he got that admitted to, but he subpoenaed the wrong person into the court. I tried to do a similar thing and said, you know, if this goes forward and I do get found guilty, then this is why I wanted to put the 110 freedom of information request at the time. That, you know, the virus hasn't been isolated, purified. Steve got the freedom of information request from the Isle of Man's version saying that it hadn't been done, and he was sat next to me in court, so I had the guy there, expert on that, to witness the document, plus the Lancet document that claimed the PCR test was a fraud. You know, and I mentioned, would I be able to subpoena the man or woman who wrote the legislation into court? Because, you know, to do exactly what Patrick done, to admit then the actual falsehood behind the legislation in the whole in the first place, completely exposed the legislation was wrote on fraudulent science, and then that would have opened Pandora's box for everyone to be able to say, well, actually, now anyone who's been affected by this lockdowns and everything else, they can now file lawsuits for damages of businesses, damages of health, damages for loss of family members, all the rest of it. And I didn't get down to go to an appeal court because I got found not guilty in the end. So yeah.
They didn't want you taking that much further, did they?
Well, this is the empowerment side. This is, you know, if you're putting certain things down and they've got a choice, well, if we go down this route and he does go to a higher court and he does appeal it and he does manage to subpoena someone into court and he can prove what he's saying, shit.
Oh, it opens the floodgates, yeah.
Yeah. Or do we find him not guilty for swimming in the sea? And twice he tried to offer me a caution, and twice I said, you know, I can't agree to your version of events in a life just for an easy life, just for it to be swept under the rug. As much as I want my life back, because it consumes you during the whole process, and you have no life. I could not agree to end their lives. You know, I had to stand. I could never look at myself as a man in the mirror and say, right, I've just taken.
That was your line in the sand, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, and I just had, as stressful as it was, I just could not, you know, look at myself if I would have just took the caution and kind of took the easy road out and had a conviction or a caution on my record for something that I didn't do. So,
but look what it's taught you.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. A lot of people fold. A lot of people say, "I'll just take the caution for an easy life," even though they've not done whatever it is they're saying. And it's like, and that's wrong in itself. Officers shouldn't be operating in that way where they think they can just do what they want and then lie about you in the media, slander you, and then in the background say, "Well, take this caution and we won't put anything out in the media, and we just sweep under the rug, and you can go off and be on your way with your little, you know, caution that stays on your record for however many years." If not life. So, yeah.
Awesome.
It's lovely to speak to Damien.
Ian, can I thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for your fantastic words, for your education this evening, and thank you for everything you do. You know, and the audience, obviously, give it up for Ian, because he has given his evening to, you know, pretty much a stranger. We've spoken for 20 minutes before, and you know, I've followed Ian and Steve and the good work that they do, obviously through Telegram, and they've very kindly, I've reached out to them, they've very kindly allowed me, obviously, access to their education and their time. So I really appreciate it, buddy.
Welcome, it's my pleasure, and thanks for having me on, and you know, and thanks for trying to get this message out there to people as well. Yeah, so I'm very grateful.
No, thank you, and well, look forward to speaking with you both again. And thank you. God bless.
Absolutely. Take care. God bless, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, and you, sir. Thank you.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, mate. Well, there we go. We are here to empower you. At the end of the day, it's down to you guys. You've got to stop giving away your power of representation, whether it be the politicians, whether it be lawyers, solicitors, this is something that you can do yourself. You know, Ian and Steve have had a lot of huge successes in the court system, and obviously they'll be on again, and we'll talk in much more detail about their other court successes. But, you know, if anybody wants to, you know, start swatting up on a few things. I mean, I've been on eBay a few years ago, you know, for £2-3 Law Express, you know, start reading the books the law students read. You know, give yourself an idea. Look, you know, £2 or £3 secondhand. That's what I do. I read these books. They give you a good idea, a good foundation of knowledge. And you must, if you want to litigate, it's £200 to do the jurisdictionary course. All the American and Canadian heavyweights that are having huge success in the court systems, Ian, Steve, the other guys that I'll be bringing on from the UK, the pro se or litigants in person, that are having huge success in the UK courts, they've all done the jurisdictionary course. I'm doing the jurisdictionary course. It is so well laid out. You know, an 8-year-old child could do it. You'd spend a month doing it. You know, you've got the course for 12 months. You know, do you want to invest in yourself? And it's not my course, by the way, so I'm not shilling it. You know, at the end of the day, I'm saying if you want to empower yourself, you know, you want knowledge. People go to university. What do they pay there? You know, so have a look. It's jurisdictionary, how to win in court, and hopefully you'll join me on many more interviews and on a comprehensive law journey. And I thank you all for your viewing and for your time. God bless you. Stay in a high mind, a high vibration, and my love to you all. God bless.
Do you find the legal system overwhelming and wish you had the knowledge and skill sets to control judges, persuade attorneys, and win your case? Well, look no further. Sovereign Empowerment is proud to announce our partnership with Dr. Frederick Graves so that we can bring you the Jurisdictionary Law course, How to Win in Court, your ultimate resource for mastering the courtroom. Unlock powerful case-winning strategies as you learn to control judges like never before. This comprehensive course eliminates guesswork and empowers you to navigate the legal landscape with absolute confidence. With step-by-step instructions, flowcharts, and outlines, you'll have all the tools you need to persuade and control judges in any case or court. Learn from a seasoned attorney with over 40 years of winning experience who has distilled his expertise into this comprehensive program. Access everything you need in one single package, including sample forms, video seminars, audio clips, and in-depth case-winning classes. Learn at your own pace, anytime, anywhere. Our 24/7 online access allows you to tailor your learning experience to fit your schedule. Access the course on your smartphone, tablet, or computer and become a legal master whenever and wherever you want. Benefit from a suite of powerful tools, including a free online legal research tool, a legal dictionary with common sense definitions, and an exclusive Q&A forum to connect with fellow students and obtain expert guidance. Good people have suffered too long at the hands of power because they just didn't know how to fight back. Now, in a matter of just a few days, you can acquire the tools and knowledge that takes law students years to achieve. Can't afford a lawyer? No problem. With the Jurisdictionary Law course, you'll gain the skills to win your case without expensive legal representation. Alternatively, equip your own legal consult with the tools and tactics to fight effectively on your behalf. Level the playing field and secure your victory. No matter what court, civil or criminal, conquer any courtroom challenge with ease. This step-by-step guidance ensures a quick and straightforward learning experience, empowering you to navigate the legal system with bulletproof confidence. As a testament to your newfound legal expertise, you'll have the opportunity to complete a final exam and receive an honorary law degree upon successful completion of the course. Showcase your achievement and establish yourself as a force to be reckoned with in the legal arena. Dr. Graves believes everyone deserves access to legal knowledge. That's why we offer the Jurisdictionary Law course at an unbeatable price. For less than the cost of a 1-hour legal consultation, you'll gain unlimited access to this complete program for up to 2 2 full years. Take control of your legal battles without breaking the bank. How to Win in Court has become the most trusted law course worldwide since 1997. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity to gain the upper hand in the courtroom. Enroll in the official jurisdictionary law course today and unleash your legal power. Click the link in the description below to become legally empowered today.